Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021. Well, effectively the conclusion of it. Firstly, a warm welcome from myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Yusuf bin Sahil. Firstly, the reason why this has happened because there were obviously issues at the Nürburgring for the ADAC SimRacing Expo of 2021. So we felt it was best to bring the competitors back. And Yusuf, we're at a fantastic track, the host of the ADAC SimRacing Expo for 2021, the Nürburgring, 3.2 miles, 5.148 kilometers, established back in the mid 1980s. It's a fitting conclusion for what has been a fantastic ADAC SimRacing Expo for 2021.
As you mentioned, Alex, it's a pleasure to be here, and we did have some technical difficulties at the convention at the Nürburgring, but we are back. We're at the Nürburgring, still in virtualness, I guess. And I'm excited to see what these guys can pull out. We've got some qualifying to get underway with, and then after that, a 40-minute long sprint race. No pit stops. It's just going to be a straight, all-out pushing to the very end.
Yes, indeed. So, in comparison with what happened, so we had our winners of GT 500 and, of course, the professional trophy. Myself and Yusuf were the official commentators for the road to the Sim Racing Expo, and a big thank you has to go to John Hindor and the team at Radio Le Mans for being the commentary team at the ADAC Sim Racing Expo in the Nürburgring. But we have 12 drivers that have qualified through this side of things. And initially, we had two qualification races. We had one at the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone, that was won by Tom Heyer. Florian Bauer, however, came back fighting in the second race at Zandvoort. And that really has given us a nice little dynamic for this evening's event. There is a €1,000 prize pool being split between the top three drivers, with the Community Trophy champion Yusuf taking home a cool €500 tonight.
Yeah. And you mentioned two names I want to just delve a little bit into. We'll be going over all of the 12 drivers racing tonight a little bit later, but you mentioned Tom Reicher and Florian Bauer. These two, they were teammates in the Ravenel GT Challenge. They won the Ravenel GT Challenge as teammates. They're both fantastically quick drivers and taking wins off each other. And now here at the Nürburgring, we'll have to see which one can up the other and just get that one extra win, and a win that could potentially secure them the championship.
Yeah, a lot of the competitors here tonight, we're running on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform GT4, and the Porsche 718 Cayman seems to be the weapon of choice, in the words of Fatboy Slim. I'm taking you back to my days as a teenager there, unfortunately.
Oh, my head, Alex.
Yeah, it started spinning over in Yusuf's direction. There we go. But a very capable GT4 car. But we have got a Maserati MC GT4, and we've also got the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4. Very interesting that we have got a couple of drivers that have gone a bit left field, haven't they, Yusuf?
Yeah, and considering that we've got, well, I'm just looking at our feed right now. We've got 7 Porsche drivers, then a Maserati and an Aston Martin. It's kind of weird to see these two essentially lone drivers, and I'm interested to see what they can pull out. One of the interesting facts about the Maserati that we were discussing, Alex, before we came live, is that it is the only GT4 car that does not have traction control or ABS available to them. Now, the GT4 cars aren't quite as powerful as the GT3 cars, so traction control and ABS aren't quite as vital as the GT3 cars. So I think quite a few drivers in the GT4 class will be fairly happy to run with very, very low traction and ABS settings, or maybe even none. So I'm interested to see how much it'll hamper the Maseratis, but that being said, I don't think it'll be too much of an impact.
Very much the case. But before we get on to the real sort of meat and potatoes, as we say over here in the United Kingdom, let's have a look back at some of the highlights from this year's ADAC Sim Racing Expo at the Nürburgring.
Sound muted. Sound resumed.
Well, those are the highlights from what was a fantastic event. Really good to see some Twitter memories from our good friend Danny Gusa, who was actually part of the commentary team for the Community Trophy in the Road to the SimRacing Expo, saying that in 2019 he went there as a visitor and he was on the grand stage of it all. With quite a few people. A really big thank you to the likes of Kovana, VCO, SimRacing Unlimited, Acto Racer, D-Box, Race Department, Hoistingveld, Nürburgring.tv, peer host and virtualracing.org. Quite a few personalities, the likes of Super GT, Jimmy Broadbent. Congratulations to also the likes of Urano Esports, who won the GT 500 event, and James Baldwin, who took home the top prize for the professional trophy. But we do have a little bit of an announcement to make, and a big thank you to our friends over at the Virtual Competition Organisation, headed up by CEO Florian Hasper, who was at the event himself. The voting very soon will be opened for the best driver at the ADAC SimRacing Expo of 2021. Now, that includes tonight's drivers here on the Community Trophy, TCR Virtual that made its debut at the event at the Nürburgring, GT 500, and the professional trophy itself. That's a really good thing. Obviously, VCO becoming a big stalwart in esports, headed up by Florian Hasper. It just really goes to show how companies like VCO are thinking outside the box, Yusuf.
Yeah, and it's great to see so many drivers as well available to be selected for that VCO Simi Award, and I'm excited to see who will get picked up or who will get voted. Almost as excited, Alex, as I am for the qualifying session that is getting nearer and nearer to us. It's going to be an absolute belter, and this Nürburgring circuit as well, there's so much action that we can see, some big overtaking opportunities, mainly down into turn 1, but aside from that, there are some other little spots that you can make moves work if you're brave enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of camber at this circuit as well. You know, it switches from left to right. I mean, particularly going through Dunlop and then heading up the hill through the Schumacher S's. That straightaway and overtaking opportunity that you've got there, going into the Yokohama S's, which is effectively turn 1, then into the Mercedes Arena. You know, there's so many opportunities. You can even go through the chicane at the end, and also what used to be known as the Coca-Cola curve, now known as the Hyundai N curve. Obviously, Hyundai N has a test and development facility over at the Nürburgring itself, putting cars like the i20 and the i30 through their paces at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. But yeah, we've got a lot of competition on tonight. We've got drivers that are really, really looking forward to going for that top prize of €500 and the title of the 2021 ADAC SimRacing Expo Community Trophy Champion. They've had to wait, but I'm sure, Yusuf, the wait has been worth it.
Yeah, and €500, as you mentioned, awaiting our race winner as well. It just gives that little bit, it just puts that a little bit more on the line. Whenever you go for a move, you know, if you're getting into the final stages of the race, sometimes as a driver, you just think, yeah, okay, I can take second. But when you're coming down to the final round of the championship, you can't leave anything behind. And if there's 5 minutes left, you're second behind, and you have to push and give it everything. Even if that means you run a little bit wide, even if that means you spin, you can at least go home. Sure, you'll be kicking yourself that you spun it or you made a mistake, but you would have been kicking yourself a lot more if you just drove normally, finished second, go back home, lie in bed, and as you're lying in bed, about to fall asleep, you think, what if I just got on the throttle a bit earlier out of turn 6? Or something like that. And that is not the situation you want to be in. It's, what's the term? It's go hard or go home, right?
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, as always, isn't it? You look
True.
back and you always learn from whether you misjudged it or whether you were a bit too apprehensive. There's always that self-doubt, but there's always that way in which drivers can learn from experience and move on to the next challenge. But tonight, they've got to put it all on the line. It's a 40-minute sprint race with a rolling start. No stone can be left unturned tonight, Yusuf.
And as you mentioned, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and you can look back at your previous races and use that as information to work out how you want to drive. You know, what changes do you want to make coming here to the Nürburgring? But there is no more hindsight after this race. There's nothing that you can look back at to try to improve. Sure, for next year, but for this year, this is where everything comes to a close. There's no more chance to say, we'll go get them next time, because there is no more next time. The only thing that is left is qualifying and the race. We talked about the Porsches, and I was actually talking to some professional esport drivers not too long ago, about half a year ago, and we were discussing the Nürburgring. In particular, we were discussing the Schumacher S, because I was talking to an esports driver, and I thought, you know what? Why not get some tips off him after the interview, so no one else could get the tips? It was just personal for me. And we were talking about the Schumacher S, and we were talking about the different ways you could take the corner. And I was asking him, because I know some friends have told me that they like to take the Schumacher S completely flat. And he said, no, I don't like to take it flat. I like to give a little lift beforehand. It keeps the car a little bit more stable. And then that way you can do the same thing lap after lap after lap. This was in the GT3 cars. So for the GT4 cars, I am expecting them to be going completely flat. And it does mean that maybe there is that slight higher chance of making a mistake, because you go into the corner knowing, okay, I have to get it flat. And maybe if you just get that turn in slightly wrong, turn in a bit too early, a bit too late, part of your brain might say, let's keep the pedal in. And then all of a sudden you find your rear end stepping out on you.
Yeah, and that's definitely one thing that you don't want to do through the Schumacher S's, because I've seen it before with GT3 and GT4 on this platform, and Assetto Corsa Competizione. You get it wrong through the Schumacher S's, you can end up in the barriers, and in GT3 it's more of a violent impact, but even with these production-based GT4 cars, it is still a tall order to keep it planted here at this fantastic circuit. As I said, 3.2 miles, 5.148 kilometers. The drivers know that they are going to have a bit of a test in front of them, aren't they?
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about the Schumacher S, because I just want to point out exactly where it goes wrong. It's not about getting the entry wrong. Okay, sure, if you get the entry wrong, it can affect things, but it's when you go through the right hand, the second part of the Schumacher S, if you get onto that curb in slightly the wrong way, that's what unstables the car, that's what causes it to spin. So if we do see any incidents through the Schumacher S, expect it to be when they hit that curb.
Well, we're going to go to a brief commercial break here on the ADAC SimRacing Expo SimRacing Community Trophy final, powered by VCO. And we'll be back just before qualifying getting underway. We'll talk a bit more about the drivers as we get towards the business end of the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021. Back in a few moments, folks.
Sound muted.
Virtual.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are literally just a couple of moments away, if that, for qualifying for the third and final race of the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy. The final tonight, powered by VCO. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, and alongside me, Yusuf bin Sahel. Yusuf, let's really get into looking at these drivers because there's so much great talent here. I mean, Tom Haya and Florian Bauer, you've already mentioned about the Revenant GT Challenge. Florian Bauer was also 8th in the Motorsport Magazine M235i Cup. But then we look at some of the other drivers.
Yeah.
Chris McDade, known within the Actual Vision community. He won the UK Logitech G Challenge. He was the EMEA finalist. He was runner-up that same season. Third overall in the BMW G2 Esports BMW competition in 2020. He's had multiple team race wins with Team Woo in iRacing Endurance Series, particularly 12 and 24 hours. He's also got the most race wins and championship titles in Actual Vision Community Racing. So straight away, you know he's going to be a very, very capable driver. So from that aspect, you know, you can't discount anyone tonight. I mean, Maxi Röhrigs. Now the funny thing is I don't see Maxi Röhrig on the free practice server that we're currently watching at the moment. But he's got like a who's list. He's part of Motorsportclub Walscheid.ev in the ADAC since late 2019. He's competed in the ADAC Digital Cup, Season 3, League 2, GT4. Including a first and second place in single races. He's done Simple Race GT4 Trophy, GT4 Challenge, the Lockdown Challenge. He's done the Touring Car Classics Digital Spring Break in 2020, where he's 5th overall. The ADAC Digital Endurance Summer Cup, League 1 and GT3. And also took P5 in a Nissan GTR Nismo GT3 at the Nordschleife. 6th in the Touring Car Classics Digital season between 2020 and 2021. The STW class, he was 2nd in the spring season of this year, and also 3rd overall in the British GT4 Championship, the GT4 series of the Virtual Reality Racing Club in a BMW M4 GT4. And I remember trying to interview him post one of the races. And he said, "No, we're going to grid," like literally, and that was it. I didn't get a chance to speak to him until later on that evening.
Is that the equivalent of good old Fernando Alonso back when Martin Brundle used to do his track walks and Alonso would refuse to do interviews?
True. Very, very true. But I mean, Michele Perella, another name that I know, Endurance Cup by Thrustmaster and SimGrid VCO World Cup driver for GTWR RHG Academy. However, the biggest thing now is the drivers are making their way out for qualifying. So it is a 10-minute qualifying session. it is also going to be a 40-minute race with a rolling start. So in some respects, Yusuf, that's going to add a lot of spice here tonight for us on the ADAC SimRacing Community Trophy here on GT4s. And we have Tom Hire, Florian Bao, who we've already mentioned, Chris McDade, he's already had Dom GTR on YouTube say, woo, go ACR boys. I wonder if Actual Vision himself might be watching, cheering him on. We've also got Mr. Sodelcat as well in the Aston Martin. We've got Lukasz Zakola, who is the only driver who's decided to have the spokes to go for the Maserati MCGT4. Also got Florian Baudin, who's actually very well versed in both real life and sim racing. Started sim racing back in 2015. Several league victories. Started with the race room platform. Now concentrates mainly on iRacing. It was actually fourth in the ADAC SimRacing Expo GT500 race in 2019, and also in that same season in racing, was semi-finalist in the Porsche Trophy that same season. A nice little bit of listing there. What about Fabian Fabek as well?
Yeah, Fabian Fabek, well, SimGrid World Cup F1 driver, and also interestingly was teammates with Maximilian Prague in the SimGrid World Cup, and pardon me, not in the SimGrid World Cup, in the VRL 24 Hours of 2020, where they finished third in the GT4 class, and in the in the X-Bow Battle Online, they actually finished one place apart from each other. Maximilian Prague 6th, and Fabian Fabek in 7th. So there is one other driver that I'm actually quite interested to see. We've been, talking about drivers, listing their various accolades, but there's one that is almost a kind of a dark horse about their accolades, and that's Sebastian Zayan. And I think he's got some of the coolest background info is possible of any sim racer. This guy finished 4th in the World Championship, not for sim racing, but for YouTube, which is a crew essentially.
Yep.
So you wouldn't want to have an argument with him in the
or in a dark alley, no. But also, he's He's also, interesting, the bodybuilding instructor and personal trainer. He's also competed for Warsaw Eagles as a defensive end in American football. How's about that for an interesting past? And he's been racing in SimGrid, Redline Motorsport, SOP, AOR, and Polish leagues such as the ROS and the AC League. So quite interesting that when our good friends Ora Kavana, who have helped put this together for the whole of the ADAC SimRacing Expo, it's really good that we've had that opportunity to just have these real welcome insights for these drivers, haven't we?
9 drivers on the grid. We've got 12 entries, so I'm not sure if the other 3 will be joining us slightly later into the session. But what this does mean is that qualifying isn't as imperative. Even if you qualify dead last, you're 9th, only 8 positions up. It's not going to be complete carnage as if we had 20 drivers like we did for the qualifying event of the main event of the SimRacing Expo in the GT3s. So a little bit less pressure on everyone in qualifying, and with a 10-minute session it does mean that there's practically only time for 2 runs. You go out, put in 1 lap's worth of fuel, you do your lap, you reset into the pits, and then you go out and you do it again.
Yeah, so this is where things are going to get rather interesting over the next 5.5 minutes, and it is Florian Baudin that is leading the way on a 2-minute 3.306. Maximilian Pal rounds out the top 2, just over 0.22 of a second adrift, and it's Michele Perella, the top 3 covered by just less than 3/10. Sajak goes 6th and is just under 2 seconds off the pace. Lukasz Zakola actually is part of the Forza Italia PL e-racing crew who were out for qualifying for the 5th and final round of the SimRacing VCO World Cup that took place last night. Funny enough, I was on commentary duty with Andy McEwen. And they have been racing in Split 1, I believe, in the Ferrari. Well, it's either that or split 2. I'm trying to remember. There's so many different competitions going on with so many different leagues. It is quite interesting. Chris McDade from Team ACR, currently P5 at the moment, but Baudin, Yusuf, has got the early benchmark to be hopefully not be eclipsed by the rest of the competition, because Tom Hyer and Florian Bauer are winding up for an assault in qualifying.
A good lap from Baudin to put himself up into provisional pole, but as we mentioned before, the two names that we are really watching out for are Reicher and Bauer. They've got a win apiece between themselves from the previous 2 rounds, and can they find themselves on the front row of the grid? Teammates that they did win. Between the pair of them in the ADAC one final. We're riding forward with McDade, making his way to the final. See how much curve he is off the power as possible, and he puts himself a little bit tense on the road on. He's still a little bit shy off the track. He set his pit, basically back out with one final shot.
Yeah, Florian Baudin has also been running as a real-life racer, the German kart slalom champion for 2004, 2005 and 2010. The German automobile slalom champion in 2014. Effectively what we would call in the United Kingdom auto testing, and also what is now known as the NLS, which is known as the VLN, the class winner of the Trophy Cup X in 2019. So a lot of skill here. We're with Michele Perella from the GTWR R8G Academy, aligned with IndyCar sensation, newly signed for Andretti Autosport next year, Mr. Romain Grosjean. Perella has gone 6/1000 slower than Florian Baudin, and has pipped Chris McDade to second on the road. That's a great effort there.
We're talking about just 72 thousandths to be precise, separating the top 4 drivers. But what can this man do? Tom Raya in the beautifully purple Porsche Cayman, as he makes his way, I believe that is out of the Dunlop curve. Oh, sorry, that is into the advanced order.
Yeah.
And now up towards the NGK chicane to complete his lap. Do you want to have a punt as to what this is going to be, Alex Grossman? I'm going to guess a 203.3 as well.
I think it's going to be a 203.3, but whether he might be able to go into the 203.2s as he heads out of the Hyundai N-Curve, does Tom Hyer on the qualifying race to Silverstone.
Wow.
He's done exactly the same lap time as Florian Baudin. Who would have thought it? And because Baudin set the lap time first, he gets the benefit of the doubt. Oh, wow. Well, who would have thought that would have happened, eh, Yusuf?
Yep, but guess what? Qual's just decided to smash both their times at 203.1. Chris McDade improving as well. And to those of our viewers who maybe are here to support their friends or family in the race and don't quite know the rules of racing as well, essentially the reason why Baudin is ahead of Raya is because he sets his lap at the start of the session. And at the start of the session, there's less grip on track, there's more grip, there's more rubber added over the course of a session, and therefore technically Raya had a slightly better track surface to set his lap on, so it was more difficult for Baudin to get that lap. But one more lap for everyone now, Alex, and this is the last chance for them, and it is so tight.
Florian Baudin is in the pits. That means no lap for the number 3 Porsche. There's Michele Perella in the number 43, currently P5, just over 2 tenths off. And look at it from Baudin, Haya and Perella. The gap between them, they are covered by 6/1000ths of a second as Perella makes his way through the Dunlop curve.
We'll just a little bit. I just saw him getting onto the curb midway through the corner, and it just seemed to unsettle the rear. So I think he had to back out slightly until Raya is going to complete his lap just before Perella. So we'll see Raya complete his lap. 10 seconds will pass, and then Perella will cross the line.
Well, both drivers are quicker. They are below on their delta times. So that's a bit too much. That could have been that is an invalidation quickly, and Tom Ryan knew it. But Chris McDade has to find, oh, and he goes off track as well in the push. The checkered is out for the session. Can Maximilian Pal from Flyby Esports in the 95 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4, he decides to pit. He knows that McDade and Bodat went off track, and that has given him the opportunity that was required. So Maximilian Pal has put it on pole for the Community Trophy final, powered by VCO, here at the Nürburgring. I hope that CEO Florian Hasper is watching. So Florian, hope you're well, my good friend. We need to catch up sometime. But there you see, Chris McDade was the fastest in Sector 1, Pirello was fastest in Sector 2, and McDade again fastest in Sector 3. That just shows how competitive this is. Okay, this is not for the big prize pool that we had in the professional trophy, but it's still, there's a lot on the line. It's not just about the money, it's also about bragging rights tonight, Yusuf.
Yep, 500 euros, not a measly amount. Bragging rights as well might be able to help them in the future when it comes to picking themselves up on a new team, which is so important in helping driver development as well. And we're also seeing, Alex, the Porsches from 1st to 6th, and Zayak, the only Porsche that kind of breaks the run. But it does seem that the Nürburgring is going to be a Porsche-dominated affair, and it's not Raya, it's not Bauer on pole, it is our Maximilian Pal.
So, the starting order for the final hurrah for the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021, the Community Trophy Finals, powered by VCO. Your grid is as follows. Maximilian Pal starts from pole position ahead of Chris McDade, Florian Bourdin and Tom Heyer, who set exactly the same lap time in the session, with Bourdin getting there first. Michele Perella from GTWR RHG Academy starts P5, ahead of Florian Bauer, with Patrick Sodelkat, Lukasz Zakola and Sebastian Zayak. Zayak rounding out the 9-strong grid. We were due to have 12 drivers, but that then means that the ratio for being able to secure some prize money, their odds just went up, Yusuf.
Yep, no longer 1 in 12, it's a 1 in 9. You're seeing the cars just juddering a bit on the track. That's them jumping on in from doing their setup onto circuit. The reason why they leave it so late is if you jump onto the track too early, your tires cool down, and then you've got to spend more work and more tire life on your formation and try to get them back up to temperature. But Harlem McDade in the front row of the group got one formation up before we get underway for the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 finals. And to be honest, Alex, I can see any of those top 6 clinching it.
Let's just put it all on the line. Let's put all our cards on the table. Any one of these 9 drivers has an opportunity here to win 500 euros as the top prize. There's a prize fund of 1,000 euros being split between the top 3 drivers. So it is Pal from Dade, Bourdin, Heyer, Perella, Bauer, Sodelkat, Zakola and Zayak. That is your 9-strong grid. So we wish every single driver the very, very best of luck. And one of the big things about this formation lap is going to be a side-by-side rolling start. And I think, if memory serves me correctly, the prizes for 2nd and 3rd is 300 euros for 2nd and 200 euros for 3rd place. This is the critical time about getting these tyres, these brakes up to temperature. As the great, the legend that is Mr. Martin Christensen said, you always want to keep your weapon sharp.
And to warm up your brakes on Assetto Corsa Competizione, there's this really cool thing that you can do. You drive and you just put your foot on the brake, it warms up the brakes, and that in turn heats the tyres. It specifically does this on the front brakes. It doesn't really help the rears too much, but it does help to some degree. And you can see the drivers, they aren't going terribly slowly. This would probably be about a 2-minute 40 lap time, so they are getting heat into the tyres. And something that I do want to bring up, something that I want to set up for this opening lap of the race, pole and 2nd, heading down into the 1st place. The interesting thing about Nürburgring is that you've got cars going in different directions. Okay, that's fairly standard. That's what happens in a racetrack. But the way the corners are means that even if you get the position through one, all of a sudden you have to be on the defensive for the next corner. We could be seeing two cars going side by side throughout the entire first half of a lap if a Chris McDade can get a good run off the start.
Yeah, I've seen it three abreast going into the Yokohama S's, which used to be known as the Haug Hagen. Robert Haug, former head of Mercedes Motorsport through the days of the DTM in the 90s and through into Mercedes' run into Formula One alongside McLaren. But yeah, I think you're spot on there with your analysis there, Yusuf, because Maximilian Pahl is going to have the advantage into the Yokohama S's, but going into turn 2, through into the Mercedes arena, Chris McDade has a wonderful opportunity to keep it up the inside. However, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us here on the respective Facebook, YouTube and Twitch streams, for joining us for the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy Finals, powered by VCO. And it is Maximilian Pahl and Chris McDade will be controlling the pace. They've just made their way through the Vidal Chicana, now through the Hyundai N-Carver. So, 40 minutes on the clock. Top prize of €500 up for grabs as the Community Trophy field makes its way through the 15th and final corner. And when we get the green light, we will be off and racing. It's very neat and tidy. Green light's been given. We are off and away for tonight's activities, and a great start by Maximilian Pahl. Tom Heyer trying to put the squeeze on Florian Bourdin going into the Yokohama S's for the first time, but it's going to be a good run by Maximilian Pahl. It's nearly 3 abreast as Michele Perella up the inside. That was Florian Bauer to the outside in the number 1 SimRacing Unlimited Porsche, and Bauer's got the move done on Perella, and there is McDade like a rat up a drain pipe. He's got the move done on Maximilian Pahl, and Pahl runs wide. Ryer up into 3rd, Bourdin down into 4th, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. Florian Bauer was trying to go around the outside of turn 3.
Yeah, Ryer's going for P2 now as well. He's looking for the inside as we head down towards the board curves, the left-right chicane, and look at that, Ryer is up into 2nd place. So 2nd and 4th, the 2 drivers starting in the lead. Fantastic run. And now we see Florian Bauer coming under pressure from Perella, and he's off into the gravel. Did he get that out of the barriers?
Bourdin's off the track and nearly hit the barriers. So that was a bit brazen there, but things are starting to alleviate as Tom Heyer's up the inside of Chris McDade through the Dunlop corner, and he's got the job done, but it's going to be the run to the Schumacher S's. Chris McDade will have the run going through into the inside line, but Tom Heyer has now gotten the lead of the race through the second half of the Schumacher S's, but Chris McDade here, Yusuf, will not let him go, and here comes Florian Bauer. He's on the ball. Look at this, that's 3 wide, and Ryer gets the turnaround.
Outside of your former racer leader, Chris McDade, and there he goes Schumacher S, and then on the run up and towards the right line curve. Well, pretty much 3 abreast was always going to end in here, and now it's a Bauer who leads the race. And here's a replay of what happened. So you can just see the aggressive move down the inside, contact between the 2 of them sends McDade into Bauer. Nothing, or pardon me, sends McDade into Ryer. Nothing Ryer can do about that, and you've got your car on the outside, you're always susceptible to those kind of incidents.
Yeah, we will have to wait to see if there are any decisions from our race control panel, as we are having live stewarding at the moment. Maximilian Pahl has got Chris McDade to his outsiders. There's Zakola in the Maserati, and the Polish driver gets squeezed by Maximilian Pahl. Yeah, a little...
That's McDade out. That's McDade done. That's going to be a lot of damage to the left-hand side of that Porsche. You can see, Alex, can't you, how much everyone wants this. They're giving absolutely everything to this race. No margin to be given, no leeway at all. And we're just seeing contact after contact in the opening 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, that I did say, you said top 6. I said anyone out of this 9-strong grid has got an opportunity. Another replay here. Now this is coming through the Yokohama S's, and this is the incident between. You can just see that Chris McDade, who ran to the outside, he just gets tagged on the left front by Zakola, but Zakola was battling away. That looked to be with Maximilian Pahl, and you can just see how much these drivers are trying to do their best. Here's Patrick Sodercut from Team ACR, and you know what's even funnier is that Florian Bauer's leading by just over, what is it, the best part of nearly 7/10 of a second. He's right on board with Chris McDade in number 6 Team ACR car. Sodercut up in 3rd place, so 2 of the Team ACR cars have actually qualified for this event. And McDade is, that is Zayak in the number 11 car, World Championship competitor. Kelly Perella is closing in the meantime on Florian Bauer. Now Bauer's got a bit of clean air, but this in the longer run of things, we've got 36 minutes of this race to go here, Yusuf, as Perella literally launches the car over the first part of the Vidal chicane, the NGK chicane there. And look at the gap, he's got that down to less than half a second. I think Perella's got an earshot. He's just been in a 2-minute 4.023. It's the fastest of anyone out there. And he's got that gap down. I think Bauer knows that Perella's coming, and he's coming with a bit of fire and brimstone in the meantime.
Absolutely, and take a look at Maximilian Karl as well. The gap between himself and Patrick Sodercut is about 1.6 seconds. He's now down to 1.2, so he's trying to close the gap. But Sodercut dropping back for us top to a battle. Karl needs to get a move on. Sure, we've got 35 minutes remaining in this race. Don't want to lose any time whatsoever. Still, everyone in this race pretty much having a chance, and as I say that, Lukas Zakala now 4 seconds behind Zayak, and maybe things starting to look a little dire for him. I wonder if he does have damage to that Maserati.
Yep, the battle for the lead continues on. Kelly Perella closing in on Florian Bauer in the number 1, so it's Porsche v Porsche. Sodercut in the sole Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT4 is about 6/10 off of this battle as they go through Dunlop, then up through into turns 8 to 9. The Michael Schumacher S's up the hill. Replay here. Now this is from the start from earlier on. You get Bourdin. Yeah, Via just literally like a rat up a drain pipe. He gets around to the outside of Florian Bourdin. Then Florian Bauer is absolutely battling away tooth and nail. That was with Michele Pelera, I think it was, who's now in P3. So a replay powered by our good friends at Huskenveld. So thank you to them. Tom High in the meantime has got Florian Bourdin right up his rear exhaust pipe. Oh, crikey.
I believe the Schumacher S possibly or up that or down into the far side in the curve. Baraya's making up by now he's close in on Maximilian Karl. He's 1.5 seconds down. Let's watch. No, he's gone right. He's lost it through the NGK. He's having a little bit too much speed towards Tom Baraya.
We did see that in qualifying earlier on when Chris McDade and Tom Hire were, well, Maximilian Karl, they were both gunning for pole position. Karl did get pole in the end, but I think it was Rye that was also at the sharper end of the grid, and he went wide at the NGK chicane. So it just goes to show that this is about pride, and there is always that old saying, use of pride before a fall, and at the moment Florian Bauer has put himself at that position, which is where everyone else wants to be, and he's starting extending the gap again over Michele Perella, because he was a 10th and a half quicker last time around.
Yeah. It's such a satisfying track to drive. When you get the track right, it feels so rewarding. It's so easy to make mistakes. The track
Right, we've got a yellow flag out on the circuit, which has just briefly been retracted. So, fastest lap. Okay, we've had our first sub 2-minute 4, and that was from Maximilian Karl in number 95, who was closing in Patrick Sodercut. It was 1/1000 shy of 2 minutes and 4 seconds exactly, to the decimal point. So Maximilian Karl is closing on Sodercut. The gap between them is about just shy of 6/10 of a second. So we've got 32 minutes and 13 seconds on the clock remaining. This is a 40-minute flat-out sprint race, so no pit stops are mandatorily required. But Florian Bauer, after what was a fantastic start, he really got the jump on everybody else, and he is leading Kelly Perella as they've just gone through another intermediate. That's through sector number 3, sector number 3, I think. and he's up the gap to nearly a second as Chris McDade and Tom Ryer absolutely nigh on doing a bit of David Hasselhoff in Knight Rider style, going through the NGK chicane, 2 wheels in the air and then back down to earth with the thump. And this is the battle for P5.
And I do wonder, Chris McDade, does he look for moves? You can see the damage to the front end of that portion from the earlier incidents. But I personally think McDade, maybe the smart option is to sit behind Ryer and try to chunk away or chip away at that 3-second deficit to Maximilian Prala, who is now actually within 0.3 of Patrick Sadekat. Maybe we'll see, you can see him just sizing up the Porsche front, trying to pick these late apexes to get a better run and maybe have a look down the inside into the following sequence of corners. But I think the next real opening opportunity for Maximilian Prala is going to be the Schumacher S coming out of the Dunlop curve.
Well, they're now making their way through into what is turn 6, known to me as a forward curve, and they're going to go down the run to right. Okay, now we've just had an issue for Florian Bourdin, who's just had a disconnect, which has unfortunately eliminated him from the race within the first quarter of it. I don't know if we can maybe get a replay of that very, very shortly. But Maximilian Prala has got the gap to Sodercat down to just under 0.3 of a second. Tom Hyer and Chris McDade, they need to start working together, as I've just seen the move from Prala up the inside of Sodercat, and that was going through into Ravenol, turn 10. And Bilstein will be next up, turn 11. So we're into the second quarter. And yeah, we can't show a replay because of his disconnect, so a real shame for Florian Bourdin, who was eliminated through a disconnect. That does happen in SimRacing. Yusuf, you and I have been very privy to that, but Sodercat has still kept Maximilian Prala at bay for P3. This is a rather entertaining battle.
This is the biggest opportunity that Prala has had so far this race, at the exit and coming out of the final hairpin, the Hyundai N curve. And is Prala close enough? I don't think he is. He might have to sit behind one more lap. He's going to have a little look to the inside. Is he late enough on the brakes? Quite swap back behind. And Alex, you're talking about, you know, disconnects as part of sim racing. Absolutely. In real racing, we talk about engine issues, random punctures. In sim racing, is your hardware fail, is the internet fairly unusual at times.
Yes, but at least with sim racing, you don't have to worry about invoices being sent to you in the post for damage to cars. That's one good caveat about sim racing. But Maximilian Prala again looking rather close. Back bumper of the number 10 Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4 Patrick Sodercat. Battle for P3. So whoever takes the final step on the virtual rostrum for the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy Finals will pick up €200 as we ride on board the rear roof cam. Number 10 Aston Sodercat, and there we go. Prala's looking up the inside. Is he going to go late on the brakes? He backs out of it. Very, very good tactical racing there. Maximilian Prala, what he's doing is he's just waiting for an unforced error. He's putting pressure on.
That might be the error.
That might be the error there happening, but Sodercat actually keeps it nice and tidy. He doesn't lose his calm, he doesn't lose his cool. But Maximilian Prala could launch it very soon, and he doesn't on this particular occasion. You can just see this is great tactics, because Sodercat now knows that he's got the 95 very high and prominent in his rear view mirrors. And yeah, Don GTR says Shane Patrick's livery hasn't shown up. Yeah, that's another part and parcel of sim racing. Sometimes the liveries don't always end up, but he's ended up matte black. But I don't think Maximilian Prala, I mean, if Prala keeps on putting the pressure on, Sodercat will make a mistake as they go into the 15th and final corner of the Hyundai N curve. One wheel slightly up into the air. Sodercat the right rear. So he manages to rotate the car through, but Maximilian Prala is putting the pressure down, but Patrick Sodercat is soaking it up like a sponge right now.
And actually, possibly the more important thing is actually Prala is now looking down the inside of Sodercat. He's going to get right up the inside into turn 1. And I think he might have the job done. Can Sodercat come back down the inside into 2? No, Prala holds it around the outside, a little bit of contact between the two of them. Now Prala runs wide as Sodercat holds on to P3. And all of this fighting has allowed Raya and McDade to close back in. We have a way back in the final spot that gives the prize money.
Yeah, it's all to play for, and every single driver worth their salt in this competition has given blood, sweat, tears, as Prahl looks up the inside of Sodelkat this time around through turn 5 at Valvoline into the right-hander here at Ford. And yeah, it is very much game on. It's a four-way scrap, because in the meantime, Florian Bauer has gotten away from Michele Parella to the tune of nearly 1 3/4 seconds. Lap number 7 of this race, 26 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock. And I sense here that Tom Hyer could be the danger driver. Chris McDade just looks like he's on a chilled out Sunday drive, waiting for something to happen in front. But Tom Hyer, I think, could be the danger driver out of those from 3rd, 4th and 5th. As Maximilian Pahl looks up the inside, that's going to be close. Sodercat keeps it pinned round the outside. That's brilliant driving from the number 10 Team ACR Aston Martin.
Look at the run that Rotter just got, and in out of the Warsteiner curve, he's pretty much got the move done into Admin Morgan, and he's up into P3. They're going to be side by side though, Alex, heading into the education chicane.
Yeah, and I think that Sodercat, if he goes late brakes, he's not going to do it, but Tom Hyer looking towards the outside. Sodercat hangs on. Hyer looking towards the inside. Sodercat runs wide. Rise up the inside, and here comes Chris McDade. Up the inside, the pair of them go, and the Aston Martin, within half a lap, goes from 3rd to 6th position.
And I can't stress how important that was for McDade. If he spent more time behind us on ACAT and Raya was ahead, Raya would have been able to pull away. But now the fact that McDade has been able to find a way through, he can stick on the back of that purple Porsche and close in onto Maximilian Prala. Raya McDade still having a chance of winning this race. Don't forget, McDade starting on the front row of the grid this race as well.
Yeah, there is still plenty of time at the moment, because Chris McDade rides on the back bumper of Tom Hyer. But in the meantime, I think that the way that this battle has sort of emerged and showcased itself over the course of the past few minutes here, Yusuf, it says to me that Maximilian Pahl now has clean air. He's already gapped Tom Hyer to the tune of nearly the best part of a second. And Maximilian Pahl, if he starts putting in the hot laps, if he starts closing a second a lap, maybe say in the next 5 to 6 laps, I think he could have an opportunity where he is battling for the overall race victory and the title of Community Trophy 2021 champion.
Absolutely, Alex. This race is not done yet. I will just want to correct one thing. He does have that gap of 8 tenths to Tom Reicher, but I don't know if that's from pace alone or due to the fact that Reicher was battling with us on ACAP, whereas we saw the other Porsche having clearer, and that's the run. Despite getting onto the gravel, he was able to get such a better run than the Aston Martin. And we know just how good he can be onto the brake. We saw pretty much lap after lap, so much later on the brakes than Patrick Sadeka. Easily done, and then Ryan looked to the outside, smokes it right in, and then got back. Ryan put the inside into the final hairpin, and McDade does very well just to stick in the rear end of the Porsche and find a way through it.
Yeah, as they say, a little bit of rubbing's racing, especially in GT3 and GT4 action. But Maximilian Pahl hasn't gotten away into the distance like I thought he would, and ahead of Tom Hyer. Tom Hyer's closed that gap to 6.5 tenths. Maximilian Pahl is running in a 2-minute 4.548. Tom Hyer is actually quicker than him. So I think now Tom Hyer, if he can be pulled along by Maximilian Pahl a little bit here, save some fuel, save some tyres, he's going to have to deal with a little bit of instability because of the dirty air, but that will help Tom Hyer have that extra little bit in the tank to go after the likes of Parella and Bauer. But if I'm honest with you, if there's been no indent made within the next 3 to 5 laps from either Tom Hyer or Maximilian Pahl, I think they can both kiss goodbye to that top prize of €500.
I definitely agree with you on that one, Alex. I think Bauer pretty much got this one in the bag now. I'm not seconds clear of Parella, pretty much. 7 that gap is blocking either. Right now for Tom Hyer, behind Parella. That might take a few laps. Personally, I think actually follow cars so often that the right front is corner coming up, and if you break the running the car ahead, rather large accident. But now the gap between Parla and Ryan is stable. seconds. Though I do think this man here, the man we're riding for today, is the fastest of all of them. When Ryan and Dave were trying to close in onto Fala and ADAC, with the name closing hand over fist on it from Reinhardt, and then tapping backwards.
I think he might be conserving his tyres a little bit here because this is a 40-minute sprint race. The tyres are going to degrade over the course of time. The track temperature 31 degrees Celsius, air temperature 24 degrees Celsius. A lot hotter than we normally see in inclement weather conditions that are normally associated with but realistically, Maximilian Prahl has just started winding up the wick on the number 95. He's just done a 2-minute 4.164. That is nearly 4/10 quicker than Michele Perella, and that was nearly a 10th quicker than Florian Bauer. So Prahl is now starting to he's starting to light up the rear tyres a little bit. He's starting to get a little bit quicker. Gap now down to 4 seconds between second and third position. So I would say that Maximilian Prahl might have been waiting to, and looking at it from a strategy point of view from a driver, maybe he has been conserving tyres, because the minute the fuel gets lighter, you've got a bit more purchase in those tyres, and you can go that little bit quicker, and that's got to be what's happening. As Chris McDade gets a little bit close to the back bumper of Tom Hyer, who really has an exit stage left moment going through the turn 5 at Valvoline right there. He nearly could have had a bit of a virtual new Nomex requirement there, did Tom Hyer, but he manages to keep it together as Chris McDade looks to try and get a little bit of a switchback here through Dunlop, turn 7. So we have gone halfway, but Maximilian Prahl has got that gap down. It was just over 4 seconds. He's taken another 2.5 tenths out of Michele Perella, who is dropping a little bit in comparison with Florian Bauer. Bauer, here, Yusuf, is the best part of nearly 3/10 of a second a lap quicker.
Yeah, Bauer now 2.7 seconds clear, but just on this Ryan McCain battle, both these drivers have been involved in incidents, both of them not their fault. They've just been sitting on the outside trying to stay out of them, but when you're on the outside, if an incident happens on the inside between two other drivers, you're always going to be caught out. And sadly, that was a pair of them driving arguably right back on with Bauer battling for the win and keeping Dave going wide. You can kind of just about get away with that. He's running the outside corner, but you can see that gap dented right now. 1.4 seconds behind Carla. 3.5 seconds. Just over 4 seconds lap ago. Carla is making good work.
Half a second nearly out of Michele Perella was taken out by Maximilian Prahl. So Prahl is on the charge. I think, looking at it from this perspective, he's now gapped higher by the tune of 1.5 seconds. Maximilian Prahl is now going to start chipping away this gap, and Michele Perella will know by the intermediates, depending on the gap between him and Maximilian Prahl, how much he needs to respond by. At the moment, Michele Perella has not responded. Wait until he does.
The question becomes, can Perella respond? How much is he saving his tyres right now? Is he saving his tyres, or is he giving it everything? Because he is continually dropping back from Bauer, but I guess the age-old saying of time will tell comes into play right now. And at the moment, we've got a bit of a lull before the storm will arrive, probably about 100 minutes or so, if close in onto Michele Perella.
Well, the funny thing is that Tom Hyer, I've just noticed here, Yusuf, is just done a 2-minute 4.743, so he was over half a second slower than Maximilian Prahl. There's Florian Bauer on our screens. SimRacing Unlimited number 1 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4, making its way through into the NGK chicane. Nice and clean from Florian Bauer. There's Michele Perella, who's just gone, and I think literally decimated one of the cones on the inside, the first part of the NGK chicane. So good showing by Michele Perella, the Italian, who has done a very good job to keep it in P2. The gap between him and Maximilian Prahl now stands at 3.8 seconds. I did say wait until Michele Perella would respond. Pirella has responded and has gone over 3/10 quicker, so the gap now up to 3.84 seconds between him and Maximilian Prall.
But you say that, but Riot's closed in on Prala, so I wonder if Prala had a bad lap, because that gap is back down to practically 1.0 seconds, 1 second on the dot. And it's just a point where consistency comes into play. Who is the most consistent of the Porsche drivers? And at the moment, it's actually looking like it is the man who is leading the way, Florian Bauer, 2.8 seconds clear of Pirella. Doesn't seem like he put a foot wrong the entire race. Took advantage of everyone's mistakes in the opening couple of laps. Everyone's fighting in the opening couple of laps. At that point, it's been plain sailing for him.
It has indeed, when we saw it 3 wide going into Avenol earlier on in the race, in the opening for a race, the first couple of laps, that really made the difference for Florian Bauer. And Tom Hyer now is within 1.1 seconds of Maximilian Prall in the number 95, the driver that put it on pole position. The fastest lap is in the hands of Florian Bauer, a 2-minute 3.996, 3/1000 quicker than the driver on your screens, Maximilian Prall from Flyby Esports, the number 95 Porsche, who runs a little bit wide. That's not going to help him. It's going to give all the impetus for Tom Hyer to try and get past the third position. I'm sure they're going to be back past through into Avan, pushing over 210 kph going through that particular right-hand kink, and the gap now down to just under 0.97 of a second. Tom Hyer takes it a little bit cleaner through the NGK chicane and then through into the Hyundai N-Carver in comparison with Maximilian Prall. Out of the final corner, and Tom Hyer might quickly get a little bit of more light at the end of the tunnel. The gap now down by a further 0.2. Tom Hyer is gunning for Maximilian Prall, and what's more important, it's the third place on the roster.
And I think Prall starts to panic because he hit his driving style. It's the ADAC chicane running a little wide. That meant that he ran wide and going into the final hairpin as well. Just keep an eye. I think we'll continue to see Prall making some of these mistakes as Riot closes in, and as he gets closer and closer, the pressure increases and increases on Prall. This is the battle for third, the final prize paying position. €200 essentially hinges in this battle between Prall and Riot. And well, I tell you what, McDade will be eyeing that battle and hoping that something happens between the pair of them, bring himself back into the fight.
I think he's got more than just his fingers crossed. He's probably got his arms, elbows, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, whatever you can think of. He's probably got it crossed right now, because he isn't too far adrift from Tom Hyer. The gap now just under 1.5 seconds. We have 13 3/4 minutes to go here in the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy Finals, powered by VCO. Florian Bauer on what is soon to be the completed 13th lap of this 3.2 mile, 5.148 kilometre circuit here, based in the Eifel region. Nürburgring itself has been around since the 1920s. So a very, very long history and pageantry within German and international motorsport as well. But Tom Hyer is trying to close in on Maximilian Prall. The gap's slightly in the 95's favour, but there goes Hyer. He might have got a track cut from that invalidation there on that lap. And that's another thing we haven't talked about. The way that these drivers are pushing, you get 3 track cuts, you get a 4th with an automatic drive.
And right, talk about it. The ADAC qualification event back at Spa, we talked about how long pit lane was. Not quite as long here, but
yeah,
remaining. Get that right. He's all over. And I don't know, Alex, if you spotted it, but Ryan was flashing his light at Carter, just trying to put off his fellow Georgia drivers, trying to do everything. This is the driver from the kitchen sink at another. Start flashing the light.
All I'm going to say is the mind games have started, my friend. The mind games, we both know it happens in sim racing and in real life racing all the time. So why not have a bit of headlight jiggery pokery here in the ADAC SimRacing Expo Community Trophy Finals? But Tom Hire, you've got picture in picture, so you see actually the back in the picture in picture is the back end of Maximilian Pahl's 5. We're actually on a driver viewpoint of Tom Hire. Fourth gear at about 100. Yeah, now he lifted going through the first part of the Schumacher S's up the incline, was at about 178, lifted off, went to about 165 kilometers an hour. Into the next left, this is Havanol, turn 10, third gear, 120 kph. Into Bilstein, turn 11. The funny thing is that over the years, the GP circuit has had so many different names for its corners. It is quite interesting. I mean, like say, Bilstein would have been known as Warsteiner, Ravenol would have been known at one point as Kumol. It just goes to show that we're running the 2020 variation of the Nürburgring. And into the Hyundai Encova as its second gear, wait, and then hit the power down hard. A little bit of a tail happy caution there for Tom Hire as he tries to close in on Maximilian Pahl. The gap has stayed pretty much the same for the last couple of moments. And it's 0.8 of a second, Yusuf. We're not that far away for going into the final quarter, as always, if you wanted to have a baseball reference, probably the bottom of the 9th. With 2 outs and the bases loaded, but Florian Bauer is the one that really is at the top of the field. And since he hit the front, he hasn't really looked back, has he?
No, he hasn't. He's been able to just slowly extend his lead. And speaking of gaps, Prala slowly closing in onto Parella, but I don't think it's anything to make Parella worry. And with 10 minutes remaining, we're talking about around a 5 laps, 3 seconds. As long as you don't lose more than half a second a lap, you've definitely got your gap covered.
Yep, so the leader now currently on lap number 15 of this race when we started just over half an hour ago. And we've got another, Michele Perella's got Giorgio Cornaccia cheering him on YouTube. As we head into the last 9.5 minutes, the gap now, well, actually, I think that Florian Bauer's lost a little bit of time. Wondering if the tyres are starting to degrade because the track temperature is still at 31 degrees Celsius. The server time is at 3:40 p.m. here at the Nürburgring. I think Parella might have been saving his tyres. I mean, you don't get picked to be part of the GTWR RHG Academy for nothing. And Parella is a very accomplished driver. All of these drivers are accomplished. It just seems like Lady Luck has favoured a few more than others.
This is the point where, you know, all we can do is speculate. All we can do is try to guess what is going on. Prala closing into Parella by even more than what Parella was able to close in onto Bauer. So it may well be the case Bauer and Parella use up all of their tyres in the first 20 minutes of the race. And since that point, they're falling back. But this is speculation. It could have equally just been a bad lap from Bauer and Parella, and as I said before, time will tell. We'll see at the end of the next lap whether those 3-second gaps have diminished any further. Take a look at Prala. He's over a second clear of Raya. Maybe Prala is starting to up the end.
Good to see Marco Parella, Michele's father, saying on YouTube, quite a fast guy, my son. Well, Marco, mille grazie, first of all. But yeah, Michele has been getting quicker and quicker. And I've just seen Michele Parella last time in comparison with Florian Bauer. Now, Bauer lost the majority of the time through his first sector in comparison to Michele Parella. So Parella is trying to close. We've got just under 8 minutes to go here. But at the moment, Florian Bauer has got advantage over everyone else. Maximilian Pahl is 3.2 seconds adrift. Tom Hire is about 1.3 seconds adrift of the final step on the rostrum. However, who's not to say things could change in the dying moments? We've talked about tyres, we've talked about fuel, we've talked about degradation, and now I think really third place is Maximilian Pahl's to lose right here, Yusuf, because Tom Hire, if he gets an opportunity, he's going to take it and take full advantage of it as well.
Well, absolutely. And as you were saying, you know, we've talked about the drive, we've talked about tyre saving, we've talked about, you know, maybe the tyres falling off. maybe we should talk about Bernie Sprinklers as well. I think that could have had a nice dramatic effect.
Oh, here we
for the
go.
finals.
Bring that old chestnut back, my friend. Crikey, who'd have thought about that one? Talk about Bernie Ecclestone and sprinklers again. After how long? That was news like years ago, wasn't it?
That was news. I think I was still at school when I heard that.
Oh God, now you're making me feel really old, mate. Thank you very much for that one.
You're welcome.
But Tom Hyer, we now go back on board with the number 2 Porsche. Still running at the top 4. 6 minutes and 20 still to go here in the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021. SimRacing Community Trophy Finals powered by the Virtual Competition Organisation, aka VCO. Lap number 17 of this race. And the running order still pretty much stayed a bit stagnant. To be honest here. Florian Bauer leads by just over 3 seconds, but Michele Barella has started closing in. The gap's now down to just over 3 seconds. Maximilian Pahl, Tom Hyer and Chris McDade round out the top 5 ahead of Patrick Sodelkat. Then we've got Lukasz Zakola, and then also we have our final competitor, Sebastian Zajac, with Florian Bodat unfortunately disconnecting from the race on the 4th lap. So, real shame for Florian Bodat, who could have been in the fight as the drivers make their way through the Michael Schumacher S's. There's Chris McDade. The front and rear bumpers on that Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 looking a little bit worse for wear. But he's trying to close on in on Tom Hyer. And the interesting thing I have seen on the timing screens, okay, get this, Yusuf. Barella is quicker than Bauer by about a tenth and a bit. Maximilian Pahl has just taken 0.33 out of Barella in the battle for second position. Tom Hyer, 2 minute 4.581, so is over 2 tenths slower. Chris McDade is a tenth quicker than Tom Hyer. So the pendulum swing is happening, because we know that one driver will have a really good first sector, then a good second sector, then maybe a bad third sector. It just goes to show, you mentioned the word, the magic word tonight, consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are still GT cars. 40 minutes, you know, we say this is a sprint race, but 40 minutes is practically the start of endurance racing. As we get to this kind of time length, you need to keep it consistent. I also want to give a lot of praise to Dave, because he does have damage on that car, and I don't know how much time it's costing him, but it could very well be 1-2 tenths a lap. There could have been the difference between 8 and 5 where it is now, maybe 3. But in this lap, we've got 3 laps remaining, and well, is there enough time for Tyler? Is there enough time for McDade to find a way to ride it? To start and close back in on the German?
Yeah. They do say the times are for show, points to go. Well, tonight it's about pounds. It's like points make prizes. That is what we are seeing tonight. A really good run by Florian Bauer. Pedro is trying to close on in. I think the Italian knows that it's not going to be it's not going to be the result that he wanted, but still to get second place, you probably saw earlier on in the stream, it's 500 euros for the champion, 300 for second, 200 for third. Into the last 180 seconds, this race has flown by. The amount of drama that we had in the opening 5 minutes, Florian Bauer is the driver that has profited the most and will now come round to complete the 18th lap. Here's a replay from earlier on. This is what happened at the start. Chris McDade and Florian Bauer going side by side. Maximilian Pahl was looking to, and this is the move that helped Florian Bauer to take the lead. And it was a bit of a pinball wizard situation there, but that would have been possibly more than likely a bit of a racing incident. Florian Bauer, more importantly there, Yusuf, had the room to go for the move.
Yeah, and it was Patrick Sodelkat who essentially made it all happen. He went down the inside in the Maserati, made it through rest, and then it was contact between Sodelkat and Chris McDade that sent McDade into Ryer. Ryer, absolutely nothing wrong with him. He cannot be blamed for that incident. It just comes down to whether the stewards think there was any foul play between McDade. Did McDade leave enough room for Sadekat? Or do they think Sadekat went wide? Or it could just very well be a racing incident. It happens, it's racing.
Yeah, so we are into the final couple of minutes of this race, the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy Finals, powered by VCO here at the virtual recreation of the Nürburgring. Probably the best part of, I think, close to 4 weeks after the actual initial phase of when we were going to host the Community Trophy Finals, but obviously due to issues at the Nürburgring, we were unable to do that and had to delay it until tonight. But it has been worth the wait in both mine and also Yusuf's opinion here. But Chris McDade looking a little bit closer. The gap between him and Tom Hyer down to just under 6.5 tenths of a second. And into the last minute or so of this race. Next time around, effectively, if it was a NASCAR race, Florian Bauer would be seeing the white flag.
I tell you what, Chris McDade, he's left it until the very last, just to give us as commentators and the fans watching in Twitch, YouTube or Facebook, just something to get excited about. 4 tenths separating the pair of them, and 1 lap remains here at the Nürburgring. They make their way out of the Hyundai N hairpin. Chris McDade, can he have a go? I think he's too far back to have a look into turn 1. He's going to have to look for a move late in the lap. Maybe it's heading into the NGK chicane, but at this point, McDade needs to start calculating. He needs to start thinking, where is Raya slow? Where can he get a good exit? Where can he send it down the inside?
Indeed, and at the end of this, it will be 64 miles or 103.23 kilometers of racing. Timer has officially hit 0 as our leader, Florian Bauer, is making his way through Valvoline into fourth. Chris McDade is closing hand over fist on the back bumper of the number 2 Porsche of Tom Hyer for 4th place. It's not going to be a prize fund, bit of the cherry for these two, but they have provided us with some fantastic entertainment here tonight. But keeping an eye on where our leader is at the moment, there is Florian Bauer through turn 7, the Dunlop corner for the 20th and final time. 21 if you include the formation lap, just over 41 minutes ago, through the Schumacher S's into Ravenel, now into Bilstein. Florian Bauer took the advantage when it counted the most. He's now making his way through to Advan. It's been a great run for the SimRacing Unlimited driver, and he's going to make it count through Advan and into the NGK chicane, through the Hyundai N Curva for the 20th and final time. Florian Bauer comes out of the final corner. He puts the pedal to the metal, and what's more, he becomes the 2021 SimRacing Community Trophy Finals powered by VCO champion with €500 in his pocket. Second position, Michele Perella, and Maximilian Pal hangs on to third. Fourth, Tom Hyer pips Chris McDade by just shy of 4 tenths of a second. Patrick Sodelcat, it's what could have been. It's a woulda, shoulda, coulda situation. Finishes P6 ahead of Łukasz Dakola, and Sebastian Zajac will be coming through very shortly in the number 11 Porsche, and now crosses the line as we speak. A real shame for Florian Baudin, who disconnected on lap number 3. But provisionally speaking, Florian Bauer becomes your ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy champion. And really, Yusuf, he did the job early on and just didn't look back.
Absolutely the case, Alex. And that incident between Raya, McDade, Sadekat, well, Florian Bauer doesn't care who was at fault. All that Florian Bauer cares is that he managed to find a way through. He kept his nose clean. He took the lead, and from there on, it was plain sailing and a flawless driver from him from that point onwards. Yes, he lost some time to Perella in the final few laps, but maybe that was just Bauer just making sure he didn't make any mistakes, not taking any unnecessary risks. And for Bauer, it's his second win of the season.
Indeed, he won the second qualifying race at Zandvoort. Tom Heyer, who won our opening qualifying race back at Silverstone, finished in P4. And to be honest with you, that really is that's the conclusion of the racing action for officially for the ADAC SimRacing Expo for 2021. But hopefully we'll be waiting with bated breath to have a chat with Florian Bauer himself if we can, because I would love to hear from this man, Yusuf, because he pulled out one of the move of the evening to make it count, and he did the job early.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to hear from Florian exactly what was going through his head at that point, because it was absolute carnage on the opening 2 laps. Everyone gunning for positions, contact everywhere. I think we had 5 different race leaders in the opening 2 laps, so it was absolute carnage.
But it provided us with some talking points this evening.
Oh, yeah.
And realistically, okay, yes, the majority of the drivers, apart from a couple, were running in Porsches. Good to see the Maserati represented there, and also the Aston Martin. And I think realistically, it just goes to show that with events like the Community Trophy, we'll hopefully we've just put out a message for Florian Bauer to come and join us, hopefully very, very shortly indeed. But the Porsche, very, very capable as a GT4 car, and it was the weapon of choice, as I said earlier on in the broadcast.
Yeah, we mentioned how so many Porsches were out in practice. We saw Maserati, we saw an Aston. Sadly, we only had 9 of the 12 potential drivers with us. Maybe the extra 3 could have added a little bit more spice in the middle part of the race. But either way, I think we got to see a thrilling race, a fantastic opening 10 minutes or so, and then the more kind of calculated endurance style battle as the gaps closed down in the latter part of the race and fluctuated one way and another, and we didn't know if it was a case of tires falling off, maybe a mistake. In the end, it turns out I think it was just mistakes and the tires were fine to the end.
Well, here he is, the man himself. Firstly, Florian Bauer. I'm going to say this in German. Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Congratulations. Well done. Firstly, that move where you literally planted it up the inside, I think that was going through into turn 10 on the likes of Maximilian Pahl and Chris McDade. That was a chance you really needed to take, wasn't it?
Thank you very much. At first, I'm speechless in the end. Yeah, it was a hard-fought race from P6 on. Didn't really thought I had a chance to even go on the podium from there on because the field is so tight. All guys are so fast here, and it's just unbelievable. Yeah, in turn 10, I just saw I guess it was Tom and one other driver. I didn't know who was.
It was Patrick.
Okay. And Patrick, and yeah, they went through Schumacher S side by side, which yeah, ended not that good for them because they were quite slow out of the corner, and then I just saw the opportunity to go down the inside there, and in the end, yeah, it worked out. It was a balls deep move, not really so clear from my side, but in the end, it luckily worked out, and I'm so fucking happy.
Yeah, that just shows the emotion here. We can understand your exaltation there, Florian, but it's been worth the wait. I mean, obviously we had the issues at the ADAC SimRacing Expo at the Nürburgring, but to now have that opportunity to do it, okay, yes, we haven't got the crowds that we would have had like at the Nürburgring, but to still have that opportunity to go for the €500 top prize, it gives you a bit of a good feeling, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I mean, the crowd at the SimRacing Expo, even if it just were in practice, it was just amazing. All these guys you hear in the background while driving gives you such another feeling. I mean, it was a pleasure driving there, even if it was just practice in the end. But such a cool event. I'm just speechless. I don't know.
I think, Florian, I think you need a very, very well-deserved drink after that one. So congratulations for taking the ADAC SimRacing Expo 2021 Community Trophy title tonight.
Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I definitely we'll have a drink now. Maybe even two. Let's see how the how the day ends now.
Definitely, you've got plenty of time in the bank there, Florian. So well done tonight. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
So really good to hear. I mean, the emotion just captured it all there, Yusuf. You know, Florian very, very happy with what he's done there, and I think the emotions, whether it's real racing or sim racing, it just goes to show how passionate these people are.
Yeah, and I think it also adds as well. Once he made that move, I'm sure he would have been. I'm sure he would have had a big smile on his face when he sent it down the inside. He got it to work. He took the lead, and then from that point on, he would have known. Okay, 35 minutes. That's all we have to do. We just got to keep it in the lead for 35 minutes. I just wonder, was he sweating a bit? Was he just in the car like, okay, one more lap, just one more, and then and then you cross the line, you take the win, and you're like, yes, you did it, and you can just kind of let everything out because you know that there's nothing you can do to lose it because you've already won.
Exactly. We'll exclude him from his Freudian slip with his language a little bit earlier on, but the emotions tell the story. That really is it for this effectively closes things, puts a close on the chapter for the ADAC SimRacing Expo itself. A big thank you to all our amazing sponsors and partners: VCO, Corvana, SimRacing Unlimited, Acto Racer, D-Box, Race Department, Heusingveld, Nürburgring.tv, Peerhost, and virtualracing.org. That is it for 2021. Stay tuned for exciting news for future developments, maybe even of next year for what's going to happen in 2022 with the ADAC SimRacing Expo returns. But also have a look out for our socials towards the end of November. You might get a little surprise that we might need to tell you at some point. But on behalf of Yusuf bin Sahel, my name's Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you for watching. Good night. See you very soon.